Folks, everybody, welcome to our House debate. We're going to have a two-series debate tonight. First one being with our candidates from the 84th and 87th representative districts. We're really glad to have those folks with us tonight to be able to take part in it. Part two of our debate session will be with our candidates for district judge. Once again, we thank each and every one of y'all for coming out. There's been a lot of people that's put a lot of work into this organization. We're the Harlan County Republican organization. We started as a political activity group when about the onset of March, April of this year. We are very, very glad to have each of our candidates here. Mr. Chad Shannon, Mr. Chris Fugit, Mr. Fitz Steele, and Mr. Nelson. We also have here for our moderating panel, we have Brandon Robinson, Sean Miller, Laura Curry, and Mr. Jeff Capps. Format for the debate, each candidate is going to have a minute-and-a-half opening statement that they're allowed to make. What will follow will be questions from our panel of respondents. Each candidate has been told that they have an approximation of about half a minute to a minute to answer each question. If any candidate is mentioned by the one speaking, they will also have the chance for a 30-second rebuttal. Towards the end of it, each candidate will have the opportunity to ask their opponent one political question, and they will have a 1-minute closing statement at the end. Again, we thank each and every one of you all for coming out. We thank WTUK for providing us a live stream. Mr. Brian O'Brien at 106.3 FM down in Middlesboro, and our Southeast Community and Technical College people who are back there right now filming it and providing us a live stream online. Folks, appreciate every one of you, and I hope you're here. I hope you're able to get something from this tonight. We're very thankful to have everyone here. And without further ado, we'll open the floor up to Mr. Robinson, and we'll get this thing started. First of all, we'll let you do your opening statements. And Mr. Fugit, go ahead and you can open.
All right, good evening, everybody. I appreciate you being here tonight. And I'm a pastor of a church over in Hazard. I usually say when I get the microphone, let's stand and sing, but today I won't do that. My name's Chris Fugit, and I'm from Perry County. I am married for 27 years. I have a son and a daughter. My grandpa was a coal miner, 43 years in the deep mines at Blue Diamond Coal Company. My dad was a Baptist pastor. Passed away when I was 15 in 1985. I spent 22 years with Kentucky State Police and retired in February of 2013. I pastor a church, Gospel Light Baptist Church in Hazard, and I've spent my adult life trying to serve people, trying to help others that were in need. I take great pride in the fact that I was a trooper for all those years, and take even more pride in saying that I'm a preacher of the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm a born-again Christian, was saved when I was a young boy, raised in church. Somebody asked me, why in the world do you want to run for state representative? Well, I'm running for state representative because I want to help our communities that I love so much. I am not a politician. I'm not somebody who just says what everybody wants to hear. I say the truth. I speak the truth. I stand for truth. I will stand against the issues that need to be stood against, and I'm going to fight for our communities because I love our mountains.
Mr. Steele.
Thank you. I'm Fitz Steele. I've been honored to be your representative for the past 8 years. Being a former coal miner myself for over 28 years, I know and I feel what our communities have been through in Perry and Harlan County and throughout eastern Kentucky and western Kentucky. Myself, I've lost a business also in the coal industry. Coal's all I've known. It's clothed my oldest child and my two smallest. always enjoyed it over here because there's no nicer people in Harlan County. Their hospitality, their work ethic, and their kindness to strangers. I've always been greeted with open doors. As long as I'm in Frankfurt, you all know my phone. I'm always there for you. If you call, I'll call you back. I enjoy working with my judge and my magistrates. We work hand in hand, working on health care, to try to provide health care to help our people, to try to improve the roads, make them safer for kids to travel. And also, since I've been in, I was lucky to get in on the ground floor of Preston House, Senate Bill 3 of Adventure Tourism, where in my book, Harlan County is the capital of the world of adventure tourism. And since redistricting, I have started at the gas station here at the hospital and go to Denver, to the middle of Everett, and to Baxter. Education folks survived a 9% cut. I helped fight to get it 4.5%. I'm asking you to send me back to Frankfurt to help take up for the children and keep the cuts down. And also send me back to Frankfurt as chairman of natural resources. I was born with coal running in my veins, and I'll die with coal running in my veins. And I'd like to thank you all for coming out here today. And I hope I've made that our district, I've worked to make it a safe place to raise a family, a good place to work, and a good place to worship. And thank you.
Mr. Shannon?
Thank you. My name's Chad Shannon. I'm a 10-year Marine. I live in Middlesboro and run a business there. My wife and I, we've been married 11 years. We have two young daughters. Tinley's 9 and Gabby's 4. She just turned 4. And they're the pride and joy of our lives. And over the course of the past 3 years as an insurance agent in Middlesboro, I would talk to my customers and I would ask questions. And when I'd ask those questions, I would say, tell me about your family, because family is important to me and I want to know how I can connect with the people, and that's the best way to do it. And when I would talk to them about their family, they'd say, my child is doing pretty good in Berea. My child is doing good in Nashville. My child is doing good in Lexington. And I kept going home and I kept thinking about these issues, and I thought, as I pray, I thought, Lord, how can we do something about this? Because I have a 9-year-old that in 9 years, she's going to be 18 and she's going to go to UK and potentially never return home. That began to really be one of my fears that kept me up at night. I want to do something about that. Y'all have given me the opportunity. Everyone knows I'm one of the hardest working people. I'll go knock on your door. I've knocked on tons of doors, and I've had the opportunity to sit and talk to you. And I've been at tables at night, and I've heard the question come up, honey, can we pay our light bill? Honey, can we buy our groceries? Do we need to forfeit buying medicine because we only have enough money for either medicine or our groceries? And these are the questions that started driving me more. Because in the beginning I was knocking on doors, but now I'm pushing harder because I see that I can help you guys. As a 10-year Marine and someone who, when 9/11 occurred, gave up a football scholarship to fight for this country, I'm a fighter. Now I do it more with my mind and building relationships, but I'm still a fighter. And I want to fight for you if you'll send me to represent the 87th District in Bell and Harlan County. Thank you.
Mr. Nelson?
Thank you very much, everyone. My name is Rick Nelson, and I'm currently a state representative. I'd like to ask for your consideration in the November election. I'm the only candidate that was actually born in Harlan County and lived in Harlan County. I lived in a coal camp called Black Star. My father worked in Harlan County coal mines for 30 years. I don't know if you've heard of Lynch or Yancey or Black Star, but that's where he finished out his career. My profession was school teacher, and I taught for 30 years. I've been married 40 years to the same woman, and as we used to say in Harlan, you can't beat that Kaz Walkers, can you? And also, my church selected me as a deacon in 1991. I've been a deacon of our church for the past 25 years. I want to tell you about, and I hope we get to talk more about some of the things that we've done for Harlan. Representative Steele and I, we brought more money in for water than Hal Rogers, Mitch McConnell, and Rand Paul put together. And that says a whole lot when you can say you brought more money in than those U.S. senators and congressmen. And I want to tell you about a job offer that I got earlier. And this tells you how much I love public service. The new administration in Frankfurt offered me a job with the administration. The only thing was I would have had to resign as state representative. I thought about it, didn't think long. I said, no, thank you. Now, the job they offered me would have paid twice what we make as state representative, and it would have been closer to home. But I believe in what John F. Kennedy said in 1960, when he said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And even though I could have made twice as much money, who do you know that would have given up twice as much money to stay a state representative? I believe in helping the people so much that I turned that job down.
Thank you, candidates. We're going to get into the question part now. And this one is for each candidate. We'll start right here with Mr. Shannon on the end and work our way down. As one of the state's largest producers of coal severance dollars, Harlan County has long provided the state with a large severance tax revenue. In most cases, much larger than many of the neighboring eastern Kentucky counties. That being the case, many constituents in Harlan County feel as if their best interests have been forgotten due to the current geographical setup of the current representative districts. Do you believe that steps should be taken to ensure Harlan County has its own state representative? If so, what steps would you take, if elected, to help this become a reality before the 2020 redistricting process?
Yeah, well, 2020 being the key. Obviously, this cycle we won't be able to redistrict, but one thing that I have looked at is when we get an opportunity to redistrict instead of gerrymandering it to where we continue to keep the same people in, I want to make sure that I look at Harlan County and have your best interest there. I mean, I've been in Everett's where at one house I'm in South Everett's precinct, and then you're in the North Everett's precinct, and then it's one of those situations where you don't know which district you're in. And I've spent a lot of time sifting through talking to our people about where they're located. I do believe that you need representation. I just think it's sad that y'all have two and two don't represent well, because at my point, I would say that if me and Chris was in there, that we'd work together and I'd fight for Harlan County. Harlan County's been good to me. Y'all wouldn't have to worry if I show up in advance. I'm not going to pass the buck and give it to someone else and let them pass out cards for me. Y'all see me at the football games. Y'all see me at your house. Y'all see me at the flood in Bledsoe. Y'all saw me out at Wallens when the water crisis happened. Y'all know I'm here for you.
Well, as I traveled around Harlan County, and to be honest with you, it took me a little while to figure out where my precincts were. And as I talked to people, I realized that Harlan County really does need their own representative, or as a representative, I'd like to represent the entire county and the entire county of Perry. I believe what that would do is it would keep the representative that is in office, it would keep him on his toes in both counties, because if he wasn't on his toes, then Harlan County would have a representative that would be elected by the entire county of Harlan, and they could put the pressure on those from Perry County to do what they're supposed to do. And so, as I've traveled, I went today to the fiscal court meeting. I went to the Lowell City Hall meeting because I want to be part of getting jobs back in this area. I want to be part of working together with all the county officials, whether Democrat, Republican, has no bearing to me as far as working together. I want to find a way to get jobs here, but as a representative, I would represent you together with Perry County, but I believe you have the right to have your own representative.
Mr. Still?
Thank you, Brandon. As you know, when I started this out, there was 4 of us representing Harlan County. Rick and I whittled it down to 2. And we're working on it. The numbers, you have to have a certain amount of numbers. I have 44,000 people. And you talk about coal severance. I've been the man for over 7 years, filing 100% back. Judge Mosley, you've been with the Cole County Judges Coalition and Association. You know it. It made it this year, it got vetoed. Our money, nobody else's money, our money. I've always fought for our district and our money, and I'll continue to fight for our district and our money.
Mr. Nelson?
Thank you very much, Brandon. Well, being from Harlan County, I can tell you that I work as hard for Harlan as I do for Bell County. Again, I'll come back to some numbers for you for Harlan County. Fitz and I brought back $18 million just for Harlan County. Now, you've never had a state representative or a state senator in Harlan County history that brought that much money back. Thousands of Harlan County citizens now have clean drinking water or sanitary sewer that never had it before. That's because Representative Steele and I worked together to get that. We've earmarked $3 million for our cities. If you're from Lowell or Everett or Lynch, I bet you that extra money come in handy. We've earmarked $1 million for police, for fire and rescue squads, $10 million to our county governments, $1 million for our senior citizens, and the Challenge Academy. If it hadn't been for Representative Steele and I putting $738,000 in the state budget this year, the Challenge Academy would have probably had to close because they had to have a 25% match to keep that thing open. And that's $3.4 million to Harlan and over 40 Harlan County jobs. So I work as hard for Harlan as I do for Bell. So that's not a consideration for me.
Mr. Fugit, with the increased number of public and school shootings, the argument has been raised that areas deemed to be gun-free zones stand a much greater risk of attack due to the perception of being potentially soft targets. Do you believe in the abolishment of gun-free zones? And do you believe that with proper training, teachers should be able to conceal carry at school?
Thank you. I do not believe in gun-free zones. As a state police trooper for 22 years, I know that zones or schools are targets because the cowards that do the school shootings pick a place who are people who are not armed, people who are harmless, and they target those on purpose because of the lack of guns or weapons. Most of the time, if people have guns, if school teachers were qualified to actually pack a gun concealed on the school property with the consent of the school districts and the superintendent, I personally would support that because I'm a great supporter of the Second Amendment right to bear arms, which is being fought against by the National Democratic Party and those who follow the lead of the Democratic Party. So I think that in order to decrease violence, there has to be an increase in people who are willing to protect themselves. The truth of the matter is, when I was a trooper, if I got a complaint in Buckhorn, which is 45 minutes away, I would pray that the folks would have weapons to protect themselves instead of having to wait 45 minutes for the police officers to get there. And so schools are the same way. We must protect our children, and we must go to any extent that possible to protect those who we love.
This question is for Mr. Steele. Governor Bevin's proposed dismantling of Kentucky Connect has both its supporters and detractors in the Commonwealth. Do you support the governor's plan to move away from a state-based exchange towards the national model, and do you think this move best represents the interests of people in eastern Kentucky?
No, I don't. Kentucky Connect was a model program started by Governor Stephen Beshear. It was a model program, folks, for the whole country. It helped our people that never had insurance before be able to afford it. With this, what Mr. Bevin is trying to do will triple the cost. Not only will it triple the cost, he'll leave the hospitals owing more money, you'll lose more jobs in the medical sector, in the medical community. And folks, do you know there's over 5,100 people in Harlan County that are signed up on Kentucky Connect and 5,400 in Perry County? How could I say no?
Mr. Shannon, there are many who will argue that current Common Core education system is flawed, and some who will argue that it is an absolute disaster. Do you support the abolishment of Common Core education, and would you have supported Senate Bill 1, which aimed to reduce standardized testing, modify current standards, and eliminated program reviews?
Yes, I would. I feel like the education should be at the local level, and we're different than Lexington. Down here in Bell and Harlan County, we face different issues that are significant down here. I don't think that the federal, especially the federal government, should tell us what to do with their education system. I know my kids, I know what their needs are, and I trust the principal at the school that my child goes to, that he's going to run and have his school performing at the top level. And we've got some of the best schools around here, some of the best teachers. And I feel like, as my mom was a teacher, so I grew up with this my whole entire life, and I see how the federal government has gotten into the schools. And I went to Walmart and filled up buggies with Kleenexes and school supplies that my mom paid for out of her own pocket. And I think a lot of that has to do with the government getting in our way with schools and leaving the money in Frankfurt and in D.C. instead of giving it back to the schools. I think it should be at the local level.
Mr. Nelson, this question's for you. As Harlan County struggles to transition economically due to massive loss of coal and coal-related jobs, we are faced with the hardships of a depleted infrastructure, the lack of quality roads that would potentially attract business to stabilize our local economy. As representative, what have you done to help improve our road situation, and what will you continue to do if elected to help bring a 4-lane highway into Harlan?
Thank you very much for that. Well, first of all, let's talk about 421. 421 is in the road plan, about $35 million. It's in 3 phases. And all the governor has to do is to sign off on the dotted line to get that started. Now, as far as the 4-lane, I don't know how many of you folks remember Jim Rohr. Jim was the magistrate for District 5 for many years. And he was told by the federal delegation that a section had to be in the state road plan to get federal dollars, because 119 is a federal road. Mostly dollars from the feds for that. So we ended up, Representative Steele and I, we actually put 2 sections of 4-lane in the state road plan, hoping that the federal guys would come back and honor their promise, but they did not. So Representative Steele and I put the sections in the road plan under the promise that the feds would come in, because the federal government's got plenty of money in the road plan. And we've got people that should have enough power if they would just earmark. But we've not had a federal earmark in the road plan, I guess, since Wendell Ford was a senator. So we did our part, but we need our federal delegation to step to the plate and put a couple of sections into 119 to help us all.
Did you vote for the transportation bill? Did you vote yea or nay on that, Rick?
Is that your question for the day?
No, it's not.
Well, then, you're not allowed to ask one. But I will answer that. Moderators. First of all, I did not vote for the road plan. And you would tell you why?
Yeah.
My opponent right here, sometimes he says I vote yes all the time. Other times he says I vote no all the time. I guess it depends on what day of the week it is. But I asked for a couple of extra things in the road plan, one for Harlan, one for Bell County, and I asked the dates to be moved up so we get the construction started earlier. And I was told it couldn't be done. So I said, if you can't help me, I'm going to vote no on the road plan. And I think that's pretty good to vote no when you don't get exactly what you want all the time. I think I showed a little independence to do that.
The current initiative to bring high-speed internet access into eastern Kentucky could be beneficial in helping to revitalize local economies that have been decimated by the loss of production in the coal industry. From a local level, however, many constituents in the county fear that we will not be recipients of the proposed project. If elected, how would you go about making sure that we are not forgotten and that we are included as a part of the new internet superhighway?
I believe, thank you, ma'am. I believe with all my heart that Governor Bevan has the best interest for Southeast Kentucky and all of Kentucky in his heart. I believe that the high-speed internet is something that will help us as far as our education with our kids. I believe that high-speed internet will increase the job opportunities with new jobs coming in. The truth of the matter is that we all, whether in the political arena or not, all of us, it's not right to say, well, I'm not going to do this, to do that. We all need to work together to bring in high-speed internet or any other job that comes in. You think about, you go back to the coal severance money. We've lost all the coal severance money. We went from, in Perry County, I saw the numbers from $3 million to $1 million in 7 years' time. My question is if we go from 3 million to 1 million in co-severance money, how can those in leadership still support the Democratic platform, which is against coal and which knocks us out of our jobs initially? And then why would they not allow us to continue to work hard to get the high-speed internet into Harlan and Perry counties that's needed? We need a voice that'll stand for us. We need a voice that'll stand up for us and shout it for us. I run my mouth 4 times a week at Gospel Light Baptist Church, and I will be a voice in Frankfort to try to bring any type of job, including high-speed internet, into Harlan and Perry County. Thanks.
Mr. Steele, there has been much controversy made over the Obama administration's transgender initiative that would allow students identifying as transgender to use the restroom or changing facility of their choice. Where do you side with President Obama on this issue, and what steps have you taken to address this issue as representative?
I don't side with him, and I never have. You're either male or female. That's the way the good Lord made you. I don't care what you think. That's the way you were made, and that's where you should go. And that happened. And as far as getting off on coal, there's not been another Democrat in this state that's been to every coal rally, from Harlan when we had it at the furniture factory to Knox County to Washington to Louisville than myself. And I am one. And Chairman of Natural Resources, you look at the minutes, there was no anti-coal bills heard this year when I was chairman.
Thank you.
This question is for Mr. Shannon. An often hotly contested issue, the issue of taxpayer-funded abortions to groups such as Planned Parenthood, draws strong support and opposition from its respective parties. Do you believe taxpayer dollars should fund abortions? If elected, what steps would you take to support your stance?
Absolutely not. Taxpayer dollars should not fund. And that bill actually came across as Senate Bill 7 this year, and my opponent had the opportunity to vote for that. It come across as a procedural bill. Okay, it passed in the Senate, come across as a procedural bill, and 38 Democrats sat on their hands and didn't vote for that. Now, I grew up Democrat in the Democrat Party that my grandpa taught me, but that's not what I stand for. It won't take me 24 hours because he's going to say he voted on it the next day after they watered it down, but it will not take me 24 hours to figure out if I support or don't support abortion. I'm a Christian, and that's my heart's message right there.
Thank you. Mr. Nelson, you have 30 seconds for
Well, as a famous president once said, there he goes again.
Oh, so is that a lie?
First of all, ladies and gentlemen, the bill he's talking about, we had the number 1 bill that was supported by the Kentucky Right to Life. We all voted on that bill, and it passed something like 93-7. I've always received 100% scores from the Kentucky Right to Life, and I'm opposed to abortion. I'm a deacon in the Baptist church. I'm not for that, irregardless of what our opponent tries to say. Every bill that's come up for a vote for abortion, I've always voted for that bill. And I think this was, Senate Bill 4, that was the informed consent bill. So, again, there he goes again. What he says.
Public record. You can look it up. You don't have to believe us.
Mr. Nelson, a recent growing trend nationally has been the push for legalized marijuana for medical purposes. Some states, such as Colorado, have even legalized the legalization of marijuana to be used on a recreational basis. At our state level, do you support the legalization of marijuana for medical purposes, and would you go as far as to support legalization for recreational use as well?
Okay, on the recreational would be no. I know some of the states are already doing that. I think Colorado, and they made a lot of money on taxes for it. I think on the medical marijuana, there is some evidence that it is beneficial, particularly in cancer and Alzheimer's patients. But I still think that we need to have a little bit more research. And we've got to get the doctors and the medical profession on board as another tool in their toolbox to help treat these diseases instead of giving them narcotics, which sometimes do more harm than they do good.
Okay, gentlemen, we will open the floor up to each of you to ask the incumbent a question. We will start with Mr. Fugit. You'll have the opportunity to ask Mr. Steele a question. Mr. Steele will answer the question, and then he will be able to ask you a question as well.
I really don't know what to ask Fitz. I've known Fitz a long time, other than if you had the opportunity to what is your greatest accomplishment that you have accomplished as far as representing the coal industry that you were part of for many years? I know you were part of it for many years. But what would you consider your greatest accomplishment to fight for the jobs of Eastern Kentucky that have left?
Okay.
What
One thing I would do, get it out of the federal hands, put it in the state's hands. As Mr. Fugit said, this was not done on the state level. This was done behind closed doors with a stroke of a pen. I would take it back, being the chairman of Natural Resources, and Senator Carpenter, chairman in the Senate, get leaderships, and go back, starting with 402 and 404, and let's go back to work. Our people don't want a handout. And they thought that their big silver bullet natural gas, but they have since to learn that puts off methane, which is a whole lot worse than CO2.
I guess the question was, though, what have you done in 8 years?
What have I done?
To help coal survive?
I've been at every rally, Chris.
I'm talking about in Frankfurt.
In Frankfurt, I've never voted against a coal bill. I've always been pro-coal, voted for coal, stood with coal, and have carried many pieces of legislation with coal. Matter of fact, today, I'm co-chair of the Free Roaming Horse Committee, which was their idea because it is you got 3 phases in reclamation, 1, 2, and 3. The free roaming horse, people are taking horses up on coal jobs and letting out, and they're eating their vegetation up. The coal company's not being reimbursed. But I've never voted against the coal company. There were coal bills. I've always been pro-coal. Always will be pro-coal on anything.
Mr. Steele, your question?
Okay. Chris, I'm going to ask you. I know you're a preacher. I've known your family all my life. And what bothers me, I run my campaign.
Right.
I don't let no one say or do nothing unless it has my approval.
Right.
The lies that have been told on me on the robocalls, and I'm going to be careful with my words. They say I'm for selling parts overseas, and you know me. You've known me forever.
That's not for me.
But that's your campaign, and I'll finish. And also, I had a girl come to my house this weekend. Didn't know who I was. Had me with Obama and Hillary. I fought the Obama generation, the agenda since day one. And Hillary too. And and I even when I was trying to get the flip, stood up and said no, because I answered to the people of the 84th district. That's it. I answered to you all. And I just wondered, you're not that way. Why do you allow them to continue to lie on friends, your friends?
Well, you know, the truth of the matter is, there was a bill that came up that where you could defund Planned Parenthood. And as a whole, I know that you're against abortion. I believe that you are. And I know that you are. But when you kowtow to Greg Stumbo, who stands up and everywhere says, I'm for the Arkansas Razor horse that's coming from Arkansas, and you don't go against that kind of stuff, what are we supposed to think? Let me finish mine.
Let me finish mine. That was a procedural vote. Folks in here that don't understand what that is, that was done at the end of the day. That bill had not been heard in committee, had not been aired out. That's why I did not vote on that, because we're supposed to hear bills.
Mr. Steele, Mr. Fugit, answer the question, please.
The question was, he asked me why the campaign was comparing him with Obama and Clinton and their agenda that they have. And it's not that I personally attack what you as a person fits, but as a representative who has the opportunity to not just do the right thing, but be a voice for the right thing. It's one thing to vote, but it's another thing to be a voice. And if I'm in Frankfurt and that bill comes up to vote, or whether it's late today or early in the morning, I'm going to make my voice be heard, because killing babies is wrong, selling their parts is wrong, and I know that you personally don't vote for that. But when you refuse to stand up against the people that are for that, then that's being part of the problem. That's not being part of the solution. I'm not against you personally. I tell people I'm not running against Fitz. I've known Fitz all of our life. But I'm running for our people. I'm running because religious liberty is at stake. The Second Amendment right is at stake. All those things that they're saying, the Clintons and Obama have absolutely made a desert out of our place. So,
Sean, I'll be done in just a minute. You look at my voting record, and you'll see how I vote. I vote pro-life.
You have 30 seconds, Mr. Steele. You have 30 seconds, Mr. Steele.
You know, when I go to Frankfurt, I am a voice. I'm a voice for you all, and I do speak out. Procedural vote, I want to hear it out. That's what you hire me to go up there to do, to get all the sides. That doesn't mean I'm for it. I'm not for it. But I am going to hear it out and listen to it, because of the phone calls I get. Every time you guys call, I get messages and phone calls. And Chris, I am a voice of my own. If you look at my voting records, there have been many a times I've never voted for the past governor, and I've never voted, I'm not going to bow down and vote for him, and I'm not going to bow down and vote for this one.
Mr. Shannon, question for Rick.
Okay. I'd like to ask this question as a father, not as a candidate, and this is, some people have asked me this question as well. Rick, after being in 16 years as a state representative, what can you do that you haven't done yet? As far as what I'm talking about is what can you accomplish? You pre-filed a jobs bill, and I thought that was great, but I've been watching for the past several years and wanting you to jump in and do a lot more. But as a father, and I'm looking at my daughter's future, what do you plan on doing that's going to be different than what's happened over the past 16 years? We've lost 1,500 jobs in Bell County and 2,500 jobs in Harlan County. And at what point is there anything that you can do differently when you get up there this time?
Well, Hal Rogers has been in 40 years. Mitch McConnell's been in 30 years, and they get 75% of the vote every time. So that might be a good question to ask them. But I'll tell you, I think the infrastructure needs are important. I think education, being a retired teacher, is important. I think you always build on what you try to do. Now, everybody wants a factory, don't they? We've got two of the most powerful U.S. senators in America. Neither one of them's been able to bring us a factory. Neither one of them's been able to bring us a 4-lane for 119. And a U.S. senator, Preston, is 1,000 times more powerful than a state representative. So I go day by day trying to help our citizens. I'm going to close with a couple of examples of that. But I don't go out and promise everybody a football stadium or 2 football stadiums or an Eiffel Tower stuff. I just work hard every day trying to help our citizens, because I get over 1,000 phone calls to my home every year. And when they call me, Chad, that's the most important thing in their life, and we try to help them. So state representative, state senator is not just one thing. It's a bunch of things that makes you successful.
Tom, your question for Mr. Shannon?
Yeah, my turn. Mr. Shannon, you talk about local jobs and local businesses. You are, according to your words, an advocate for local business, right? Yet when you got ready to buy your campaign signs, you bought 1,500 campaign signs, about $4,000. And folks, you know, since he's for local business, that he bought them here in Harlan, didn't he? Nope. He bought them in Bell County, right? Well, no. He took $4,000 and bought them in Louisville. Now, how is that helping a local business when you take $4,000 of hard-earned money and take it to Louisville when you could have went right down here?
That's a good question, but there's nothing to truth to that. There's a little bit of truth to that. I bought a lot of signs from State, Allen Wilford. All my big signs come from Allen Wilford, you know.
Yeah, but your little signs are bought in Louisville, because I checked on it. And
Yeah,
they
but
got
that wasn't $4,000, that's a stretch.
Only about
And I didn't buy
$1,500.
$1,500.
Well, $1,500 was your bill on the 500. So regardless, if it was 50 cents.
So what was your question?
But the question is, why did you go to Louisville to buy your campaign signs when you could have helped Harlan and Bell County business?
Because you know why, Rick? I'm self-funded. If anyone wants to look at Rick, who all's bought and paid Rick, I don't get the money he does, guys. I'm like you. I can't afford to go out and buy $5 a sign when I can get them for $1.33 somewhere else. I can't afford to. I would love to. But if y'all can afford it, maybe we need to be talking to Rick
Let me respond to that. He drives a $50,000 truck.
It's in 2007.
He works for
This
state
election
law.
ain't about me and
Makes about $100,000 a year and he can't afford it.
This election ain't about me and Rick. This election is about you. And I've talked about that since I've said over
Gentlemen, time. We're going to move on now to our closing statements. And Mr. Steele, you'll be first.
Okay. Just breathe for a minute. As you can tell by tonight, I'm the candidate in the race to go back to Frankfurt, to take up and fight for the coal industry, fight for health care, fight for education, fight for you, be there for you. Talking about 421, Representative Nelson and I, in 17, there'll be $570,000 spent on it. In 18, there'll be $10 million spent on it. We're there to fight for it. In 19, there'll be $23.8 million spent on it. And thank goodness it'll finally be done. And I'll end at that. And thank you for letting me be your representative. And please remember me November the 8th.
Mr. Fugit.
Well, I appreciate all this tonight, and just thank you for coming. To end, I've been in public service since I was 21 years old. In 1991, I began working with the state police as a radio dispatcher, then as a trooper and a drug detective for 9.5 years. I worked drug cases from here all the way to Detroit, Michigan, Texarkana, and all across eastern United States. As a pastor, I've been pastoring for 4.5 years. In all those years, I've been on call 24/7. I'll get up in the middle of the night, I go to people. As a state representative, I want to be your representative. I want to be your voice. I want to be accessible. I want to be part of the fiscal court meetings. I want to be part of the city council meetings. I want to be part of everything that goes on in job creation, to stand up against abortion, to standing for our Second Amendment rights, standing for religious freedoms and liberties. I ask you to vote for me on November 8th, and I would appreciate it very much, the opportunity to fight for you.
Mr. Nelson.
Thank you. I want to do a little follow-up. You know, we were talking about local businesses and everything, and I guess my opponent admitted that he actually took money to Louisville, Kentucky, when we have a lot of deserving print companies in Harlan and Bell. I bought all my stuff locally. I bought about $10,000, counting mail-outs and everything. I'm putting my local people to work with money. I'm not taking it to Louisville where it's a drop in the bucket. Now, let me talk to you a little bit about the important job of state representative. As I said earlier, we get about 1,000 calls every year to our home. We don't have an office down here, it's our home. And with Facebook and with the emails, we probably get about 2,000. And like I said, when they call, it's the most important thing. We saved a grocery store in Harlan County $10,000 a month that they were going to get fined. almost $10,000. They were gonna have to go into business. He said, I called you first because I think you could help us. We had a student in Bell County that tried to enroll in Southeast Community College, but they had lost their record. Didn't have any financial record for it. They called me, in 20 minutes we had it settled. We had a lady in Bell County that had a tree fall on her house from the Kentucky forest, state owned. She went a year and couldn't get it settled. She said, Rick, I didn't know what else to do, but someone said if you call you, that you'd try to help. About 3 months later, she got a check to repair her home. You see, it's about our citizens. They need to know that they've got somebody they can count on. I would appreciate your vote. Vote for one of your own, Harlan County native. Thank you.
And I appreciate Rick. I highly respect Rick. We politically were different. But I think tonight cleared up a lot. Tonight cleared up a whole lot to me because transportation bill, we learned that Rick Nelson is playing politics. He's in a back room with people in Frankfurt and they're playing politics. I've also wondered what happened with the abortion bill, and it seems to be the same thing. He claims to be for you, but he's never seen a tax he didn't like. I'm a small business owner. These taxes are killing me. I make payroll. I have all kinds of things that bother me. The payroll tax. You know, I'm drowning. People are drowning that are small business owners. He took care of his pension. How does yours look? I sit with customers every day that said, Chad, I had to go into my 401k and I'm 49. That's a penalty, guys. This stuff is stuff I deal with every day. He has a brand new 2016. This is irrelevant, but it's not. It's a brand new truck. Mine's a 2007. He's claiming it's a $50,000 truck. It's not. And I've got payments on it. I'm like y'all. Now his voting record. If he's so much for you, he took away our First Amendment right. The food stamps, Coke, he would have shut Coke down. 400 jobs would have went to 200. How's that for you? The gas bill. He went from $1.79 to $2.88 on the gas bill. We're on a fixed income. How does that help you? That don't help you, ladies and gentlemen.
Mr. Shannon, time, please.
Transportation bill. He told us he voted no on the transportation bill when I know people sitting right here living in crates that drive that and it was shovel ready 10 years ago, but we're blaming it on the governor that's been here 8 months.
Mr. Shannon, time, please.
Thank you.
We'd like to thank all of our candidates for coming out tonight. Thank you all for coming out. And this will end our debate. Thank you all.